All right, welcome everybody to our latest Live Motocross podcast as we preview the 2025 AMA Pro Motocross season ahead of the opener at Fox Raceway with Jason Thomas. Obviously, firstly, thank you to everyone for listening and supporting the site. We really appreciate it. Obviously, we'd also like to thank our sponsor for this one in Fly Racing, as well as Firepower Batteries. So, Fly Racing has aimed to provide customers with the very best in off-road performance products, led by the revolutionary Formula S Smart Helmet. Fly Racing continues to push innovation in safety to new levels. Never before has style and technology blended together so seamlessly as the 2025 Fly Racing lineup. For more info, check out flyracing.com or your local Western Power Sports dealer or dealers across the globe. So obviously follow Fly Racing Global on social and cheer for all the athletes in SMX and MXGP. Also, big shout out to Firepower Batteries too for jumping on board. Go check them out and all their excellent offerings. Obviously, they join forces with heavy hitters in the industry like Club MX, so you know their stuff's quality. They absolutely, ship a ton of products, super popular, and obviously a proven product. So go and check them out on socials, online as well. But obviously, welcome JT. How are you, mate? And thanks for joining us again. Excitement's high, and are you feeling refreshed and revitalised ahead of Pro Motocross? I believe in your industry seeding podcast, you said it was the first weekend at home since New Year's last one out. So much deserved break.
Yeah, it was nice. I am ready though. I will say that. You never really know kind of where your head's going to be at after so many weekends in a row. But I think if there were just more Supercross races, I would be struggling more. But when you just look at the setup and the roster that we have coming into this, which we're of course going to talk about, I mean, if you're not excited about this, you're either in the wrong sport or you're dead or something is very, very wrong because this is as good as it gets. I don't know what's going to happen, but when you look at the lineup, especially in the 450 class, how could you possibly not be excited? So thankfully, I'm in a really good place.
Oh, it's going to be awesome, mate. It's going to be box office. And I guess before we tuck into that, just tell us a little bit about the broadcast. Obviously, there's some exciting new changes, cool things happening. You got the race day live, pre-race show, Weege in the booth with Stu, I believe. So it's going to be immense. And you're back doing the reporting duties as well, mate. So the fans should be in for some terrific insight and analysis, tuning in across the globe as usual.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, for I think Ricky really enjoys having the summer off. So good on him. He's been alongside me doing 17 in a row, and he has a lot of responsibilities with Triumph. So Stu comes in, and yeah, he'll be at all of them, is from what I know, and I'll be at all of them, and then Weege, of course, and then we'll have kind of a rotation of my counterpart, Haley Shanley, who is on the Race Day Live team, will be at the first two, I think. Will Christian will be joining us at some. I believe maybe Katie Osborne will be in as well, but regardless, we're gonna bring you the best damn show we can, and I think having Stu's analysis at these motocross races as it's opened my eyes. I didn't know he had this level of analysis in him, but now we're just kind of used to it, and I can't wait for it.
That's awesome, mate. And he obviously blends in a bit of the humor there as well. So, yeah, the crew's going to be awesome and delivering all the action. It'll be really quality entertainment. So, I guess, firstly, onto the track, mate. There's been a couple of changes. How's the weather looking? It's probably going to be quite warm, but maybe not as warm as it could have been. So, it's going to be fast. It's going to be starts are crucial because it can be pretty hard to pass there. But I guess it'll be pretty interesting to see who adjusts best to the MX environment. It should be a cracker. So, from your point of view, what are the key things and the key things for success as well?
Yeah, we're catching a break with the weather, and I say we because I suffer. I stand in the sun all damn day, so I don't have to go race. I don't have to be in the late in the moto, digging deep and all that stuff. But it's still, if you're in the sun all day, you would much rather have it, in Fahrenheit. I think the high is supposed to be around 77, 78 versus like earlier this week, it was 95, and that's a gigantic difference. But for the purposes of this podcast, I really think it matters for, there's so many riders that are coming back from injury. And you think about Prado, he's used to European climate, right? So it's not that he can't race in hotter temperatures, but it has been a little bit of an issue at times for him in his career. Tomac, Jet, Hunter, all these guys are coming back from injury. And that doesn't mean that they're unable to handle heat. Like, for sure, the Lawrence brothers have been riding in Florida humidity every single day. What it does mean, though, is when they're getting pushed to the limit, and they're going to get pushed harder than they have at any point in their training to get back to 100%. This is going to be a tougher ask than any other training days thus far, just because of the things you can't replicate, the intensity, the adrenaline, all those things simply aren't there during the week. And you can cheat a little bit during the week. Like you can lay up a little bit in certain sections, you can conserve energy. And a lot of that is, it's like a subconscious thing. You know, you're not trying to lay up, but it's hot, you're tired, there's no one there. It's you and like your brother and your mechanic, and you'll kind of cheat yourself a little bit. And you're not even trying to, it's just human nature. Well, guess what? At the race, when everybody's watching and all the pressure's on, it's on TV, you can't lay up. You're going to give it every ounce of energy you have. So when those guys get pushed to the limit for the first time, having 20 degrees less, you know, in Fahrenheit of temperature will make a gigantic difference of how long they can continue to push before they run out of gas, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be nice for everybody attending, no question about that. But for the racing and the very top end, the guys that we're talking about that are championship contenders, I think it really helps them. And the only person you would say that it doesn't help, I think, is Chase Sexton. Like, Chase probably would want it to be as brutal as possible because he is so fit already, and that extra bit of suffering would give him even more of an edge than he's already going to have.
Yeah, that's awesome insight. There's so many question marks for so many guys, depending on how they are from their recoveries. Obviously, who's had the best prep, the fitness levels. Obviously, like you said, dealing with the demanding conditions, the comfort on the bike, and you just want to get a gauge of the level, I guess. And it's key to not have a shocker and give up a heap of points. You just want to have a solid round if you're one of those guys as a bare minimum. But you did touch on Sexton there. We'll get to the other guys too, but I guess he's probably not getting as many headlines as all those heavy hitters that are returning, but you know, he won 7 rounds last year, defending champion. You know, you remember that statement right at Hangtown, for example, and many others. But like you said, momentum, fitness, comfort on the bike should all be there for him. So you have him as your favourite for the round one and for the season in general as well.
I have him as the favorite for round one. It's not a huge favorite, but it is a slight favorite. And when you're talking about the riders that we have to choose from, I don't think that anyone should be a huge favorite, because if you told me that Jet or Tomac or Prado or Chase won, and we're not even talking about guys like Justin Cooper or anybody else that could throw a wrench into these things, Hunter. If you told me any of those other guys won, I would be like, okay, I didn't see that coming, but it's within the realm of possibilities. So he can't be a dominant favorite, you know. But I do think all the things you mentioned, he has the most momentum. He doesn't really have any question marks surrounding he or his program, and that's really it. That's where I give him the edge, because yes, he's the defending champion, but I kind of don't care so much about that, because none of the problems that he is going to face this coming Saturday were in that discussion. Like, Jet wasn't in the championship past whatever round he left after Southwick, right? And Hunter, they went toe-to-toe. Chase is a better motocross rider than Hunter, though. Tomac hasn't raced a pro motocross race in 2 years. Prado, they've never faced each other in this dynamic. So the championship last year is almost kind of a so what in this dynamic, other than we just know Chase is going to be awesome either way. But it's going to be interesting. I think if it's so fun to analyze this from so many different angles, because I think from the outside, you could look at it and you could draw different conclusions. You could, on one hand, say, well, Chase should be the most relaxed because he doesn't have the questions. He has so many things dialed in. He knows his fitness is there. He's had time to test the bike. He's had so many gate drops. So it's just going to feel like another race for him. But I think there's an element of this where he has added pressure because of that. And if you think about a dynamic where he goes out there and he goes like 2-4 on Saturday, it's only going to get tougher. Those guys are going to get better from here. Like, there's no question about whether those guys are going to improve their fitness, their racecraft. The rust is going to get shaken off. They're going to get their bikes sorted out more. Like, all those things are going to be net positives from the first lap of the first moto down the stretch. So if Chase doesn't get it done, or he has some sort of glaring miss this weekend where he's just not fast enough or whatever, I don't foresee that, but that's the risk. that is where I think added pressure comes in, because he absolutely has to come out swinging because everyone expects him to. And if you let a guy like Jet go out there and go 1-1 this weekend, that is catastrophically bad news for everyone else. And I don't know that he's going to or not. I'm just, we're looking at all the what ifs. What are the possible scenarios, let alone what are the most likely scenarios? Chase cannot allow that to happen. So it's just funny. It's like, what side of the fence, or, how do you want to view this? Is it glass half empty or glass half full? Chase should be the most prepared, but if he doesn't live up to that, it could spell bad news for several rounds in the future.
Yeah, that's a great analysis of the situation that he's facing. And yeah, he'll definitely want to put the front foot on and keep the foot on the throat of these guys if he does make it happen, because yeah, you can't bleed points like you were saying with all those guys snapping at his heels. And just quickly on Webb, how's the approach, the switch from Supercross to Motocross? Obviously, an interesting sort of pressure and expectations for Webb. Pretty cool that he's back outdoors racing. Obviously, he's still injured, so we'll see. He'll probably just be aiming for the top 10, I guess, to start with. But he dropped that funny social post where if you get, 50K likes, he'll race the opener. Just having a bit of fun with it. But I guess he's still riding the quest of a wave from Supercross. Super happy. Big exhale after that. So, could he be dialing up a holiday like you mentioned 25 minutes in your column there, mate? So be interesting. How is he feeling? Is he sort of pretty relaxed heading in?
Yeah, I think he is. He's for sure relaxed. That is a certainty, because he could take off the rest of the summer until we roll into Charlotte in September, and this year would be considered success. Winning the Monster Energy Supercross Championship defines your season as a success. End of story. Like, he doesn't have to race again. He could skip the playoffs, and 2025 would be a success by definition because of what he's already accomplished. So that gives him the peace of mind, and he's going to rest easy no matter what's happening this coming Saturday. And I say that because I think it's going to be really tough for Cooper Webb this weekend. Like, if you told me he went 8-11 this weekend, I honestly wouldn't be that surprised. I wouldn't. The field is the deepest we've ever seen it in the top 12 or so. So, and I don't think this track sets up well for Coop at all. This track is going to be incredibly tough for what he does well. So you start to add all these factors in. I don't think his heart's really in this championship. This track is not great for him. It's the deepest field we've had, where I would say everybody but Coop has been locked in to motocross for a while now. Like, they have been all in, every ounce of all their effort, their mental space, every ounce of dedication and forethought they can give has been about motocross. What Coop hasn't been at all. He has been locked into what he just accomplished, and this is like an afterthought of like, maybe I'm racing, maybe I'm not. I have this thumb thing I need to figure out. I just don't think it's a great setup for this weekend. So kind of what I've been hypothesizing is it's going to be a struggle. I firmly believe it's going to be a struggle. Even if he hole shots, I think he gets shuffled back pretty quickly, similar to what we've seen like at Motocross of Nations and other rounds. I just don't think he has the top end speed, especially on a track like this, to go with those guys. So he's going to get shuffled back. I think he's going to get maybe 1 round in, 2 rounds in, and he's going to be battling for 10th place a lot, or maybe it's 8th, right? Maybe I shouldn't talk so negatively about the Supercross champion, but I don't think he's going to be finishing where he feels like is acceptable. And he's going to make a hard decision, maybe not even hard decision, say, okay, I can stay in this and I can keep getting my ass kicked all summer, but I still have this thumb problem. And if I don't do it now, if I don't get it fixed now, when am I going to do it? When is this? Because he certainly doesn't want to go into 2026 with the same thumb injury that's lingering, and he's thinking about it all the time. So that's what it comes back to every time. And maybe I'll ask him that tomorrow at the press conference, is if you're going to get the thumb fixed, and that's a foregone conclusion. I don't know if it is or isn't, but I'm assuming it is. If you don't do it now, when are you going to do it? Because you don't want to do it October 1st and then not be able to ride until late November. That is not an acceptable setup for 2026 to defend your championship. You are so far behind the 8 ball. Plus, he's already signed on to race Paris, go to Australia again. So that doesn't work in that time frame. Like, he wouldn't even be able to ride he's giving up probably 200 grand in that dynamic to not race those races, which he is not going to do. So I just start by process of elimination. I don't see how he races the entirety of this championship at all. I think he races a few. He gets some points, like say he gets 30, 50, 70 points in the first few rounds. Look at the SMX playoff scenario and says, okay, that's going to have to be good enough. I got a gaggle of points in Supercross, which is going to help me carry through to the playoff seeding. And maybe I go in fifth, but that's okay. This is just what's going to happen. So I don't know. I'm not trying. I don't have any inside information. So I don't want people to think that I know already and I'm scared to say it. I'm looking at the situation, and it's kind of the only way I can see it going, unless his answer is, I'm not going to get the thumb fixed. If he's not getting his thumb fixed, everything else changes. But if he is, I just don't see how he's not getting it fixed sometime in early June. I just don't see a way around that.
Yeah, it needs to get addressed, you'd imagine, wouldn't you? It's really cool to hear your take on it there, mate. And obviously, we've touched on Jet, but, he's 7 of 7 at Fox Raceway, so he'll come in there, with that good feeling ahead of that race in that place, So if he can get back to those really strong starts, obviously, we're not expecting him to probably go 1-1, but it's definitely in his capabilities, that's for sure, with the speed and the talent and the skill and the way he selects his lines and negotiates tracks, and he's so aware and awake to different things. But yeah, we'll see how the fitness is and those pain levels. When you're getting through 2 grueling motos, mustn't be easy, having an ACL like that. But I guess we'll see how he goes. What would you consider a successful weekend for Jet, mate?
1-1. I hold Jet in such a high regard. I really do. I take a lot of heat for it online and social media and stuff. I get a lot of people saying a lot of honestly ridiculous things that they would never say to you in person, but welcome to the internet.
Yep.
But that's my honest opinion, analysis, however you want to phrase it. I don't really care. It's what I think of Jet Lawrence as a racer. And so do I expect him to win this weekend? I think that the chances are pretty good. When you look at his history with injuries, it's a small sample size, but I think for one, he's just a physical specimen as a human. You can look at him and see that his body is incredibly efficient, right? His neck is as big as his waist. He is just a strong human, and his body is built for athletic performance, right? And a lot of that's not anything he didn't do anything about. A lot of it's genetic. He has an insane amount of God-given talent on a motorcycle. You can see how easy things come to him on the bike. That's talent. That's not, everybody's working hard, of course. It's not just, well, he must work harder than everybody to do that. Well, no, that's not how this works. Everybody's killing themselves to be the best racer they can. They dedicate their entire life to this, but it just comes easier for him. His balance is better. His coordination's better. And I think his body coming back from injury, which is the point I'm trying to get to, look how quickly he recovered from last year's injury going into the SMX playoffs, and how good he was with that thumb injury right away. We were all this is going to be tough. I don't know what to make of it. He comes out and he wins. He freaking wins the opening round. And I remember just being there, interviewing him after the race in the post show. And I'm just this is I use this phrase, this isn't normal. The things we're witnessing from this kid are not standard behavior. If anybody's unimpressed by this, then you need to check yourself, because I've been around this my entire life. I know I've seen greatness from Ricky to Stu to Chad to RV, Dunge, whatever. Even in that, when you're saying all those names, Jet, the things he can do, they stand out. And I'm not saying he's better than those guys. I'm just saying he has innate abilities that, some of those guys didn't have. They did not have. When you look at who was built to race a motorcycle between RC and Jet, it's clearly Jet. And Jet has a long way to go to even sniff anything Ricky's ever done. But that's where I'm coming to it. Things happen more easily for Jet than other guys. They just do. So if the question is, can he come back and win? My answer is yes, because of that very thing. It's easier for him to be his best self. A guy like Ricky, for example, tore his ACL in 2004. Well, actually, he got it fixed in November of 2003, and he didn't race again until May of 2004. So you think about that's 6 months of prep time. He came in ready to smash anything and everyone on the planet. I was there. I remember racing against him. I hole shot him in the first moto, and he went by me so fast. He was second. I was first. He was second on the first lap. And I looked up at the end of the first lap, and I'm like, how in the hell is he already out there? Like, he was so far gone already. And I just knew leaving Hangtown. I mean, he went 24-0 that year. There was nobody going to even come close. Like, I was just like, you guys are all so, because I was friends with all the, Ferries and all those guys. And I was like, you guys have no chance of beating that guy. He is way too prepared and determined to smash everyone, because remember, he was coming off of the Honda snubbing of the contract, right? So he was ready to really, really prove a point. And that's what 6 months of prep looks like. And if you gave Jet 6 months of prep, it would probably look the same. I just think Jet on a shorter time frame where everybody, remember, you're super connected and read everything, right? Remember the conversations that were being had by everyone about, I don't know if Jet's going to be able to race this event. I don't know if he'll be ready for Pro Motocross opener. And I was on the front end. I'm saying, I promise you he's going to be there. Like, book it. Go ahead and plan your travel if you're a Jet Lawrence fan, because that dude will be at the opener. Count on it. And I had like really smart people kind of like pushing back on the time frame. I'm like, I don't care. I know you're smarter than me. I'm just telling you from what I've seen. I've had this injury twice, and what I'm seeing from that guy, he's going to be there. Now we're going to find out what that looks like, what level of performance he's able to bring. But we have now seen 2 injuries that he's gone through, significant ones, and look how quickly he was back. Like when he posted that video riding, everybody, I don't know that I was so much, because I was already, on the record saying he's going to be back earlier than everybody thinks. Everybody on the internet was going, oh my God, he's already riding. But that's the type of efficiency in a human. And he has Doc G. He got this really, really advanced surgical technique done in Nashville. There's just a lot of things that they're doing on the front end to shorten recovery. And he's going to be, I think, better than most people especially would have expected in late January. I'm rambling on because the kid impresses me so much. But to your specific question that I probably could have said in one word 10 minutes ago, I think he can win the opening round. I really do.
That's awesome, mate. Awesome analysis of the situation. You just know that, the treatment, like you said, is a no stone unturned approach. They're doing, everything they can, and you were pretty defiant, determined that he'd be there, and he certainly will be there, mate. So it's going to be pretty cool to see what he can produce. And one of his key rivals will be Tomac. Fascinating to see how he fares as well. Obviously, the fans are pumped. He's really determined to race, isn't he? He's got that insatiable appetite to race still and compete, and he knows he can be up there and battling for wins, or he wouldn't be doing it. So, Tomac, another key storyline to follow. Maybe a little bit more question marks as to how he's going and how he'll fare, because he's got a bit of a, I guess, wider window of results previously. But yeah, I wonder what the future holds for him too. There was that talk with Chibati and Cortez. Is that Ducati deal going to happen? Obviously, a lot of water to go under the bridge before his future's dialed in, but he wants a 2-year contract as well. So I guess he'll be looking to perform to, obviously get the money nice and high, and also to get that 2-year deal. So Tomac, all eyes will be on him too.
Yeah, I'm mixed on Tomac. I mean, he's such a fantastic rider. It's not like it's going to be an abysmal day or anything. I think it's a little bit situational for Eli. He needs to put himself in good situations if he wants the result that he's hoping to get, because I think he's up against some just fantastic starters, and Jet, Hunter, and Prado. They're going to be in the top 5 on both starts. Like, just count on it, take it to the bank. They're going to be in the top 5 on both starts. So that means for Tomac, we know how good Chase is going to be, right? So you have to think Chase is in a little bit better spot than Eli coming in. You can't count on Chase's starts. You don't know. He could hole shot or he could be 14th. You don't really know. But I think for Tomac, when I say he needs to put himself in good situations, he can't be 15th on the end of the second lap and expect to beat Jet or Prado or even Hunter, right? I think Hunter's going to be really prepared. So he needs to cross his T's and dot his I's on Saturday. Like, he can't make mistakes. He can't be a little sloppy. But his starts have been really good. He'll use that scoop tire, especially in Moto 1 that he loves so much. And his starts have been really, really good with that tire. If you think about like SMX playoffs, he was using that tire. He was up front every single time. So I don't have a reason to think that's going to slip any. I think the starts will be better than historical Eli Tomac starts because of the motorcycle and because of the tire, which will help him. He's going to need that. So I'm a little wait and see. I have him for sure top 5. I just don't know if it's going to be like, oh my God, Tomac is going to win the title type day, or is it going to be him feeling it out, lands on the podium with like a 4-3 type day. I'm just not sure where I'm at. And that doesn't mean he could come out and crush it. I'm just not super sure on my specific opinion. I'm a little bit more, I want to see what he's got under the hood before I take a strong stance.
Yeah, agree with that 100%. You sort of got to temper the expectations a little bit, logically. And I guess the same probably goes for Prado. Obviously, I wonder how his approach is heading in. He's a winner. He wants to win. He's won world titles. He's, really wants to prove himself in America as well. The Supercross didn't go to plan, but, speaking to you and, Ben Townley last week, there's a lot to consider, isn't it? The different tracks, the different soils. There's a lot of variables, the one-day schedule. There's a lot to sort of learn from and gather experience before you can sort of logically battling with guys like Jet Lawrence, you'd imagine. But, he's got all the speed and the skill and the starts, and he seems pretty happy and ready to prove some people wrong. So I guess he's already used to the things like the traveling. He knows he's on top of things like diet and nutrition. So he's got a lot of smart people in his corner too. So Prado, mate, your take, how's he going to do?
I think he's going to be great. Is it going to be the Prado we saw in MXGP where he just starts every time at the front and he just kind of is the man, like managing races from the front, a la what we've seen from Jet so often? I don't know. I think this is going to be tougher than that was. Not because I think his skill set isn't there or anything. It's not any of that. It's the unfamiliarity with the tracks, with the people he's racing against. The climate's different. He just got to a place in MXGP where he had every detail dialed. Like, he knew every condition, unless it was muddy, he struggled at times. But most of the time, he knew where to start. He knew everything. He had the bike so perfect for the starts and the tracks. And you could just watch him, and it was like poetry in motion. So he's kind of starting over. New motorcycle, and as much as you ride and test and think you're prepared with the bike, you get out there and you're racing, the bike's going to do things that you weren't prepared for. That's just how it goes. It's always the same because you're pushing it more. The conditions are different. It's really hard to replicate race day on many, many fronts. And how the motorcycle responds is no different. So that's going to be something he's chasing on race day. And he's going to be surprised by some things, and they're going to have to make adjustments where he hasn't had to do that in a very long time. So I think it's going to be a fine day. I just want to see, is he the same guy and he's already worked through all those things and he just comes out swinging, or is it take a little bit of time and you see some things they're going to have to work on? The number one thing he has to do, period, is he has to get the starts the way he always has. He cannot put himself in 12th on the first lap. And I don't expect him to. Let me say that very clearly. I don't expect that to happen. But that cannot happen for him. He doesn't want to be in a battle with riders he doesn't even know who they are. Probably he's never heard of them, in a situation he's never really been in. Like, he is not a rider that charges from the back. His MO of a race, like his racecraft skill set, is the complete opposite of Eli Tomac's. Like, he is a front runner. He is so similar to Justin Cooper in what they do well. And, for proof of that, watch any time Justin Cooper's ever gotten a really bad start. He struggles immensely. He just cannot. He hasn't ever had to do it. And that's where I'm trying to get to. It's a skill set you develop. And, it can be either nature or nurture, right? And you think about the hardest charging guys in the history of the sport, like Larocco and Ricky. Well, they developed that skill. Tomac, because they got bad starts at times and had to figure it out. Rocco always started poorly. So guess what? He learned how to pass and charge late and make it happen. Tomac, the same thing. His starts in Kawasaki's were terrible. So for Justin Cooper and Prado, it's the exact opposite. They never had to do that. So they didn't develop the skill set. What they know how to do is start from the front and manage races, ride defensively. They know where riders are going before they do, so they can sit in that line and make sure they hold riders back there if they don't necessarily have the speed. And it's just a completely different way to attack a race. But those things get reinforced over years because you do the same things over and over. And you get anything you do that many times, you're going to become very proficient at. And this is no different. So I think Prado's going to be fine. I don't know if that means him winning a moto or he's like 4 or 5 on the day. I don't know. We're going to, I would be lying if I could tell you that with any certainty what that's going to be. But the number one thing he needs to do is make sure that on the first look he's somewhere in the top. If he can do that, then the rest of the day becomes much easier. But yeah, that to me, that's the whole key to his race. Everything else will fall into place as long as he executes what he is one of the best in the history to do, which is make sure you're up front on the start.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Some really great points in there. You mentioned things like the familiarity and obviously getting used to the tendency of your competitors, obviously, which he's completely familiar with in MXGP. But that's another thing he has to learn. And just on that defensive riding, he's obviously a master of that. We've seen many sort of instances of that in the GPs. Will that be a lot harder to do on those bigger footprint tracks stateside? I guess this weekend at Parla, maybe not so much, but in some of the other ones, it could be easier said than done to hold your position and be particularly defensive, couldn't it?
Yeah, it's the tracks are certainly different. In MXGP, they're so rutty, and oftentimes there'll be ruts where they're in a rut for 100 meters. It's a different type of track. He's going to be able to figure all that out. That's one thing. The MXGP calendar offers a little bit of everything. So if you have a glaring weakness in any particular terrain or type of track or any condition, MXGP calendar will expose it in a very painful way. So he's had to kind of suss out everything that he wasn't very good at. And so I'm not really worried about his able to adapt. The biggest challenge, and Tom Vial's still facing this 2 years later, is having the same level of, that word familiarity and comfort and the knowledge base on brand new tracks every single weekend, because he's racing against riders who know these tracks inside and out. Jet has gone undefeated on these particular tracks. Chase Sexton's been racing these tracks for 7 years now. He knows these tracks, every ounce of them. He knows where the lines are going to be late. Think about Eli Tomac. He's been racing them for 15 years. They know where the good lines and the bad lines are going to be long before they even board the plane to head to that track. So Prado, he can study. I would recommend watching as much race footage as you possibly can so you prepare yourself before you arrive. But in the end, the fact remains that, outside of this particular track, he'll have some experience because you can ride it on Tuesdays. But like Hangtown or Colorado, High Point, you get, and for those who haven't ever been to a pro motocross race, Saturday morning, you get about 3 laps before it's go time. There's 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes of untimed, basically it's like a sight lap period. And then the clock starts and you have to be putting in lap times that are going to qualify you for the day. And at most tracks, that first practice is everything. The second practice, the track's too rough. It's just the track slows down for multiple reasons to where you can't get that best lap in. That's not always the case. Some tracks start out really muddy. The second practice is better. But a lot of these tracks, he's going to have to be right on his game really, really quickly. He's not going to have this ability or this opportunity to kind of figure things out, pull in the mechanics area, talk to his team. Hey, where am I slow? Like, you don't have time for any of that. You have to be on point right away. And to me, that is the number one challenge that these riders face. A one-day format, tracks you've never ridden, and you simply have no time to, kind of ease into it. Easing into it doesn't exist. So how quickly he can adapt to that dynamic, championship-wise, will probably be the biggest factor.
Yeah, it's going to be so good to see it unfold. There's a lot for him to consider and take in. Yeah, we can't wait. And obviously for Hunter Lawrence, just a few words on him as well. Obviously, really quality season last year. Another man that's coming back from an injury that's hindered his preparation, but he's had a little bit more time than Jet. He's very good at parlour usually. He's kind of flying under the radar a little bit, but do you expect him to slot in around the J Coupe? Plessinger sort of area in this one. And you kind of got to give him the credit last year. He pretty much had, 25 minutes for Chase Sexton most races last time round, didn't he? So he deserves credit and the respect, but maybe not quite battling for wins, but he might be a podium contender for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna be careful with talking about Hunter because he surprised me to the upside big time last year. I just didn't think he would be as good as he was, and I mean he was the red plate holder for an extended period of the championship last year. I mean he was running around with his brother, he was beating Chase. So my default is to say, yeah, Hunter will be 4 to 6, but last year I felt the same and I was dead wrong. So he's going to be more prepared than Jet. I think like he's done all the testing where Jet is to even Jet saying it. Jet's just basically running what a lot of Hunter settings are. And Jet's really been focused on getting himself back to full strength and fitness. So that's given Hunter a chance to work the bike out, work his fitness out. So I think he's going to kind of be a little bit on the front foot as far as, yes, an injury, but he's going to be all the way back from that injury. I don't think he's going to be like, I don't know if I can do 35. Like, I think he's ready for all that. It's just going to be, is he ready when Chase and Jet and Tomac and Prado push each other? And that's what I think is going to happen. They're going to keep pushing each other and elevating each other's level because these guys have incredibly high ceilings. Well, they're gonna find out exactly how high those ceilings are when you have this many guys all asking each other to go faster. I'm curious to see how Hunter handles that dynamic because innately, I think Hunter's ceiling's a little lower, and maybe that's not fair. Maybe but I do think Hunter can win motos and be on the podium a ton, but like at the absolute extreme. If everybody imagine a world where everybody got a good start, those 4 or 5 guys all got a good start. I don't know that Hunter can, if they all just are going flat out and everybody's feeling it and they're like, oh my God, this is going to turn into some sort of like vortex of awesomeness. I don't know that Hunter has the top end speed to go with that. And maybe I'm wrong and maybe he will prove me wrong and I'll look stupid again. But that's my only worry with Hunter is if we go to that place where Jet and Chase are like, hell no, dude. Like, nope, not on my watch. We're going faster. Can Hunter match that top end speed is really the only question I have for him.
Yeah, great stuff. We'll watch it play out for sure. He'll be pretty determined to come out there and, yeah, put his best foot forward like all of them. And obviously, one last thing before we go on 250 is just your take on the international flavour. We see it again this year, mate. Obviously, you got Gio, Pacharel, Lapucci, obviously Harrop in MX2, expecting big things from him. Really good lad. I've done a podcast with him a while ago, and yeah, just a friendly, really sort of determined character, but yeah, really friendly. All the media will love him over there for sure. And obviously with Pacharel, Motocross the Nations winner with France, Gio, top 5 in MXGP when he's on it, but usually a solid top 10 guy. I think Pap's coming over as well. I think Heyman and Putnam from the UK. Purdon and Duro from South Africa. I think Stav Orland's racing again outdoors like he did in Supercross. So I guess it's a testament to the lure of pro motocross and the racing scene in America, isn't it, mate? It's really exciting for the neutrals, the fans that know him in Europe, for everyone, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think for you and I, we're going to be like fascinated to see how those guys all slot in. I think there will be a lot of average fans who probably, if you're an average fan, you're probably not listening to you and I ramble on here, but there will be a lot of viewers on Saturday that are wondering who the hell is that guy running around at the hole shotting and leading? And it could be Lapucci, it could be Guillaume. Both of them are incredible starters. It wouldn't shock me in the least. I just believe there will be many people who are shocked and are scrambling to Google who the hell number, whatever their number is. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. They're going to get shuffled back. Like they're not going to go with those guys we've been talking about for the last half hour. But could they give us some really, really fun moments on the first couple of laps? Absolutely, they could. And then the rest of them, we'll see. There's going to be a lot of top 12, top 15, top 18 rides for Paturel and those guys. But I think early on, like for Paturel, he needs to really do his best work early on before all of these riders that have been racing Supercross for the past 5 months find their outdoor legs and get up to speed. He needs to put in some really strong rides early on and establish himself, because it's only going to get tougher. The same point I made about Chase, where he has all this fitness and he's over prepared versus his championship foes. I think Paturel's the same, where you have to jump on these guys early, because I live this. And after a few rounds, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe how slow I was early on in pro motocross, because I've been in Supercross mode. Like, I just wasn't as quick yet. I didn't have all these things sorted out. I didn't have my form yet. So there's going to be opportunity for a lot of those names early on that may not be there at the halfway point.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool to follow, seeing all those different names racing stateside. So we'll keep an eye on that with interest. And obviously on the 250s quickly, I guess the main question is, can anyone beat Hayden Deegan? He's expected to dominate. He loves it, and he's so much more comfortable outdoors than Supercross. He knows that track really well, as do many other guys that spin laps there. But I guess you'll be wanting to put the flex on, stamp his authority early. I guess even on and off the track, really, it's entertainment guaranteed with him, isn't it? You know, firsthand. You spoke really well about him and Brian's dynamic, and I guess the direction they follow and how calculated they are with the steps they take in Hayden's career. So can anyone beat Deegan, mate? I guess will be the question. He's a heavy favourite heading in, so watch it to be box office with him too.
Yeah. Oh man. I don't think anybody can go toe to toe with Hayden for 11 rounds. I don't. I've tried to kind of come up with scenarios where it happens. You know, Hymas is all in on this championship, and he is poised to kind of break out. But when I go down the list and I look at he and Kitchen, and, you know, Vial has the chops for it, right? Two MXGP, MX2 titles and 2 Supercross titles would tell you that he can be up to the fight. But I just have not seen anybody else, Shimoda, whoever, name whoever you want there, that good start, bad start, hot, average conditions, dusty, muddy. It doesn't matter for Hayden. He falls over, he goes to 28th, and he's trying to pass for the win on the last lap. Like, that is what he is capable of, and his ability to overcome adversity simply puts him on a higher plane for me. And there's going to be a stat. I'll foreshadow it now. I'm going to have a stat at probably the beginning of the 250 moto about Hayden's average motocross result improvement. And it was, like, he only raced a couple races in 2022, but his average finish was like 11th. In 2023, it jumped up to like 5.5. And last year's average finish was 2.1. How the hell are you going to beat anybody where their average finish is 2.1, especially in the 250 class, which is known for inconsistency and mistakes, and that's just what it is. That's what that class has always been about. You can't beat anybody that's averaging 2.1 unless you just win everything. So it's really going to be the summer of Deegan. I think for me, it's going to be really interesting to see who tries to make inroads on certain weekends, and then Hayden immediately pivots and goes into attack mode against that person. That's going to be really fun, because I just don't think over the course of 22 motos that anybody can deal with the relentlessness that, not necessarily his persona or the social media, I don't care about any of that. His on-track performance is nothing short of relentless. He just keeps coming, and you think you've got him down, you think you've got him on the ropes, and guess what? You don't. He's coming back for more, and he's going to pass you with half a lap to go. That's just who he has developed into as a racer. And can you imagine how much confidence that kid has right now coming into this opener? Like, he is going to be incredibly, incredibly difficult for anybody to deal with.
Oh, yeah, well said. He's going to be an absolute machine, and there's not too many guys in that class that you saw last year. He has a crash and he can still come back for the podium for wins. But I guess the most likely contenders are guys like Vial and Hymas. I guess you mentioned Vial. He's obviously got that title winning experience both in Europe and stateside. But yeah, he's got the skills, he's got the experience, he's consistent, which is a key point, and a key point to him winning his titles. He stays healthy, but he's more used to that pressure. But it's really going to be good to see Hymas, isn't it, mate? I guess he's been on outdoors for a while. You know, he's got the speed and all the skill, and such a, you know, got a diverse skill set to handle a lot of different things and terrains. But yeah, he had a little bit of beef with Deegs last term. he'll want to rise to the occasion, but it might be too soon for the title now. But in the future, he'll definitely be a motocross contender for the championship, won't he?
Yeah, I think it's just the same thing. It's the inconsistency part. He really has found some speed in motocross. I think like exceptional speed. Where I think even Deegan will have trouble matching speed at times. We saw it last year. Unadilla really stands out where you're just like, there's nobody on the track that can go as fast as Hymas is going. But can he sustain it? Can he not crash? Can he bring that week in and week out, which is what a championship necessitates? I don't know. I have my doubts. We've never seen it. So kind of by default, and if I've never seen it, it's really hard for me to assume that it's just going to magically appear. That's just not typically how things go. So that's the ask in front of him is we've seen it in flashes, but that has to be the norm, not the exception. Like that level of performance has to be what you bring every single time. If you want to, like he's been talking about it all spring. I want to be 250 Pro Motocross champion. I've heard him say it 10 times on and off the record. Well, great. I think you have the talent. You certainly have the equipment. It's all possible, but you have to be the best you've ever been, and you have to be the most consistent you've ever been. You have to have the starts. You just can't have any holes in your game because that guy on the blue bike with the number 1 on his bike, he is going to be really tough on you mentally. He's going to come at you. If you come out swinging, if Hymas comes out swinging, Deegan is going to pour on everything he's got off the track, on the track. It's going to be tough. And maybe Hymas was here for it. Maybe he loves it. Like it was really fun last year watching them go back and forth. But I don't know. I'm optimistic for Hymas. I don't know that I'm there yet for a championship. That's a really big step to take, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool to see that class play out. You sort of probably got close to 20 factory bikes. You look at the names, obviously you'll have like Fedortsov, Voland, you'll have Kitchen, Hammaker, Masterpool, Marchbanks, Adams, Juju, Faulkner, Cochran, Ryder D, Smith, Styles, Shimoda. And then that's without even the guys that are injured like Anstey, Davies, McAdoo, Mumford, Swole, Brown, Bennick. It's crazy the amount of riders. It's pretty awesome to have all that melting pot of 250 riders together in one class again, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a really deep class. I just think the depth is a little different because I think that I just think Deegan has kind of a stranglehold on it. In the 450 class, I think the depth, everybody's right at the top. All of those guys can win this championship. Jet, I guess you could add Hunter in there. Tomac, Sexton, Prado. Those guys could all win the championship. I can't get to a place where I don't see Deegan winning the championship. And it's like Deegan's at the top, and then there's like 7 or 8 guys below Deegan that I think can win races. They will be in the fight. I'm just really unsure that they have what it takes to go 11 rounds. Like I don't think they do, and that maybe that's not fair. Maybe they would hate me for that. Just going off of what I've seen, it's really hard for me to make a case that says that they can beat him for 22 motos and come out on top. So, I don't know. I see the two classes as two different dynamics when it comes down to the championship. And it's usually not this way. It's such an interesting thing to think about because normally the 450 class is kind of a really known quantity. We kind of know what we're going to get. And this year, I think the 250 class is a known quantity. And the 450 is absolutely wide open barn burner. And maybe that all shifts. Maybe it doesn't stay that way. And we're like, we should have known better. So-and-so, Jet, Chase, somebody was going to take the reins, right? You could make a case for any of those. Jet, we've really never seen him lose. He's lost one outdoor in his entire career. And then Chase, you're like, well, look how prepared he was. He was so ready for this. Of course he was going to win. We can make that argument over and over and over. I just think the setups are very different, and it's a very unique setup because it's usually the complete opposite.
Yeah, it's going to be so good to watch, mate. And that's probably all we got time for on this one. But just quickly, any final thoughts? Obviously, the fans, watching and in attendance will be treated to some superb action. The coverage will be elite. And obviously, the Fly Racing, watch out for all their gear as well, mate. Obviously, pretty high vibes with Webb winning that 450 Supercross title as well, mate. So anything you want to touch on there?
No, I just, it's been quite a crazy year, and like I still don't understand what's going on with RJ Hampshire. Like I was told straight to my face that he was getting his wrists fixed, and now he's supposedly racing 450 this weekend. So I honestly have no idea what's going on with that situation, but apparently he's racing this weekend. But yeah, it's hard for me because I am so conflicted. I want to cheer for all these guys that wear fly, but that's not the job, right? I need to be very, very unbiased and give rational analysis. And yeah, it's hard for me in that same breath to say that Cooper Webb's not going to be fantastic this summer, but in the end, I just don't believe that to be true. I think Justin Cooper will be significantly better than Cooper Webb on however long Cooper Webb races for. That's how many times I think Justin Cooper will beat him.
Yeah, it's going to be really good to see play out. And obviously, thanks again for taking the time to join us, mate. Big thank you to Fly Racing. Go follow them on social media. Cheer for all the athletes this weekend. Check out your local dealers. And obviously, massive shout out to Firepower Batteries too for all their support. Go check out their excellent offerings. Obviously, joining forces with Club MX. So, the stuff's quality. So, all the best for the weekend, JT. Been another Ripper podcast, mate. And we look forward to catching up next week too.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
No worries, mate. Have a good one.